can you tell me about the power station site? What is the power station site?
Well, the power station site has got a very long history, because that's where they used to generate the power for Hastings or were going to in an emergency. Do you remember there was two aero engines installed up there, and just down from Chiltern Drive, when my colleague and I went onto the site checking over the Badger sets and one thing and another some time ago, we found enormous stumps of tyres. They really were enormous stumps of tyres, mountains, and we reported to the council and reported it. That's all right. We said, well, while we were there, children were playing with the tyres and putting stuff and trying to set them on fire then. And that's when the whole lot went up in smoke. Well, since then, it's all been destroyed. The site has been interfered, levelled on a number of occasions.
What's on the site though at the moment?
Then the council or Sea Space put up reptile exclusion fencing all round.
Right.
And 800 common lizards were taken up to Fairlight as a follow-on from that. They've all perished from the monitoring. There's been several monitoring reports, one by Tracy Day and one by Martin Newcomb, which proves the whole project was a disaster.
The Tracy Day one's great, isn't it?
Yes,
it's very comprehensive.
Oh, she was she's a very talented lady. Now that the next phase is that I'm not quite sure who, but another lot of ecologists came and made a small so-called receptor site on the east side of Chiltern Drive in the land there, which was the old allotment site. And of course, as that's only about 20 or 30 yards from where they collected the common lizards up, obviously they've all gone back home because there's no food there, because there's a spring line there with the badger set and one thing, other sting nettles and brambles, absolutely alien territory for common lizards. And they've obviously all gone back home because the reptile exclusion fence wasn't round that part of the power station site. The whole thing, and now we've had meetings with Mr. Davidson and Karen Phillips, the case officer, and what they want to do now, I understand, is build something like 50 housing units on the Parker Road end of it, the site. Mr. Davidson promised us that the reptile fence, exclusion fence, would be repaired and reinstated and repaired. Unfortunately, that has not happened, which means all the female reptile common lizards outside the fence, once they got back in, they would have found, because of all the ones that have been taken away and taken to Fairlight, they would have found an enormous abundance of food, ants and all the insects and one thing another, that they because that site is perfect for common lizards. And over the next 4 or 5 years, because the site was left alone, then those common lizards would have multiplied, because the females would have had very large families because of the abundance of food, and probably now, which is what the point we put to Mr. Davidson and the council, the population would probably be the same as it was originally before they took any away.
How many years?
Since then, recently the excavators and diggers have completely denuded the site of any vegetation,
You're kidding.
right? Without checking whether there was any common lizards there. The reason that we know about it, because we I won't say where, but the road leading off, well, it was actually Beaconsfield Road. I won't say what garden it was. So we rescued a starving badger, my colleague and I, out of the backyard of this property. And when we took it back, we could see what the problem was. There was no food for wildlife, but the badgers in particular, because it had all been grazed to the ground. Very substantial steel fencing had been put completely round the site, and anywhere where there would have been a little gap for wildlife, badgers especially going through, extra pieces of steel being put down into the ground to stop any wildlife travelling off site or on site. Now, in my view, that contravened the 2006 Animal Welfare Act, where it says if man takes control of any wild animal, even temporary or permanently, that animal is a protected animal. Now, I have sent a letter to Natural England and disputed that they are not following that law. They've written back and said, control means in a trap, in a snare or something like that. But I said, we're not even doing that. But as far as the dictionary says, control is another word for control is influence. And if at Parker Road there are a lot of badgers, because the badgers did have about 10 hectares to roam over originally, and since that time it's all been compartmented. The badgers are all isolated, which is not quite correct, because we're not supposed to stop them from socialising with others of the species, and the whole thing is a disgrace, because nobody wants to put things right. The police don't want to know. Mr. Cookson's department, we've written to Seaspace. Well, that doesn't cover anything really.
Is Seaspace the owner of the land?
Yes.
So
That's what I'm told.
Right.
And Hastings is part of Seaspace. Hastings Council, they're sort of all...
So they own the land, and the lizards would have found all sorts of invertebrates to eat, would they have? Did they do an invertebrate survey before they cleared it?
Not recently. They did it originally when they took the 800 common lizards up to Fairlight, but they didn't do a proper badger survey at that time.
And the 800 common lizards that they translocated to Fairlight
are perished, died.
And monitoring, what did they say about that when you told them?
Well, I asked for copies of the monitoring reports, and Tracy Day did one, and Martin Newcomb did another one, and I think we're entitled to see the latest one.
And are they sending you it?
I have to ask for it.
Right.
And there's quite a lot of monitoring reports about different parts at...
This is Tracy Day's report.
Is it
which
Road?
I'm not sure about that one. This is Tracy Day's excellent report on monitoring lizards. Very comprehensive. I just took a look at that a minute ago. This is by Martin Newcomb, which yes.
That's a different one. If you turn
It's
over
a different
on the back,
one.
Turn it over on the other side at the back. You'll see the plan. That is the second one. With this, they did it in 400 lots. That is down by the Coast Guard.
Is this
cottages.
a different site altogether? This
Sorry?
one. This.
It's still at Fairlight, but it's a second site.
Okay, but the Tracy Day one's the right
The
site.
Tracy Day one I think she only done the old helipad side. I'm not sure.
Right.
She might have looked. No, I don't think she did that one.
Okay.
But
Well-
Martin Newcomb would have done that one.
Okay, thanks.